silence up here to settle down this body, this mind, who, of course, is extremely worried and fearful about the time up here and needs it to all go perfectly, which, as we'll know at the end of this talk, is a fallacy. Because there really is no such thing for this talk, or for life in general, or for this planet even. Personally, and I don't know, is anybody up here as surprised as I am, or anybody in this room as surprised as I am that they let me back up here again? That would be a yes. I've gotten good at reading between the lines. Last time I was up here, we got real, right? And as it turns out, maybe a little bit too real, which I also think is a fallacy. But in the world we live in, the society we live in, there's certain things that you should and shouldn't do out there. And if you were at that talk, you'll know it came to a conclusion with a fair amount of colorful metaphors. As if you're I love this guy. He caught it. Star Trek 4. Just threw out my geekness right there. Colorful metaphors, some F-bombs and some S-bombs. And what you guys got that day was a very real picture of the person who's in front of you. You had a conversation with the person you'd have a conversation with around the campfire, perhaps with some chemical influences and whatnot even, when things really loosen up, right? And so maybe a little bit too real. And I since learned that, you got to sort of restrain that back a little bit. Too real is not always a good thing in an environment like this, because we all have our conditioning. We all have our sensitivities. And this society we live in is built around making sure those don't get too far out into the open sometimes. For example, at our home, we like to be naked a lot, just to share some honesty with you. And that would be fully inappropriate for me to bring that here into this space, right? It would make for a different talk. So there's certain things. Eric, on the other hand, has no problem with it. So there's certain limits. And interestingly enough, a couple weeks after that happened, I was in a public space, and someone who was listening to this rap music, and it was just littered with just the most profane language you could imagine. And leading up to this, I'm like, what's the problem here? These are just words and whatnot, and it's just me, and we all need to get over it and just settle down, right? And I was just flooded with these feelings and the emotions because this profane language was so strong, like it made me look like a nun with mine at the end of that talk. And it was a lesson to me that we all have our sensitivities and we all need to be cautious of those. But at the same time, we also need to be very aware of them, these sensitivities, because they're built around a conditioning that we have received since birth, and maybe even a little bit before that. I've since learned that in doing some past life regression therapy, some deep exploration into that there's stuff we're carrying with us from past lives, and there's stuff we're carrying with us from in utero, stuff that perhaps your mother and father went through before you were even born. These energies develop in us, and we have our needs and wants and expectations for how things should go in the world. And I stand here before you at age 51, looking back on life and feeling the weight. Can anybody relate to this? Feeling the weight of the decades that have passed. I always catch myself watching, say, perhaps two young people get engaged. Nico's telling a story of 3 years in his relationship. This woman and I are approaching 3 decades in this relationship. And I remember so clearly those first few years, the dating years, the honeymoon years, how light they were, how full of hope and positive expectation and courage and excitement for what lies ahead. And I shared with you last time I was up here a phase in my life that lasted almost 5 years of a very deep depression that came and went. It ebbed and flowed. And I can feel the contrast between that weight that has accumulated over these decades to that lightness of youth. In the Bible, it says, "Be ye like children before you enter the kingdom of heaven. In order to enter the kingdom of heaven, be ye like children." And I think that's I think that means there's a lot in that. You can go a lot of places with that. But one of those things is to stay light and to release that weight. These kids that are bouncing around up here with so much energy and so much vibrance and so much vitality, they haven't developed that weight yet. Some have developed more than others. This beautiful man who sits here in front of me developed a lot of weight really early in life. And yet he sits here today, one of the most positive, upbeat people that I know, in spite of that, what he's been through. And if you haven't gotten to know him, I encourage you to do that. It's a special human right there, for sure. So we can all relate to that heaviness, yes, that darkness. Paul Simon, he wrote that song we just heard. Interestingly enough, the darkness he was referring to, he would go into a dark closet or a dark bathroom and turn the lights off and write his music and let it come to him because he needed to be in the darkness. He needed to be away from all the chaos of the world and be in that darkness to feel what he needed to feel so he could create those songs. And that's actually what that song is about, is his pain, the pain that he felt about how things were going in the world around him. Ironically, this happened decades ago, and yet we're in the exact same spot now. How often do we read a book that was written 100 years ago, and they're saying this, that, and the other, and you're going, was this just written yesterday? It's the same thing over and over again, as it turns out. Every person who's ever lived probably has felt this weight. We think we're special today because that's sort of the way we're designed. We have these things called egos that think we're the only ones that ever walk this planet. And this is the only society that's ever existed. And this is the only time it's ever been problematic. But it turns out life is difficult. It always has been, and it turns out it always will be. I love the line. Any fans of the movie Princess Bride out there? Yeah? Princess Buttercup is lamenting her suffering, and she yells out at our hero, what's his name? Wesley. "You mock my pain." And he goes, "Life is pain, sweetheart. Anybody who tells you otherwise is selling you something." The Buddha talked about this. All of life is suffering. All of life is suffering. And it sounds kind of dark and negative at first, until you realize the true gift actually is not so much to rid your life of suffering, but actually to embrace it and to welcome it and to understand that there are gifts there to be had. That if you are in a dark place, if you find yourself in a dark place now, anybody find themselves in a dark place now? And yeah, I see a couple hands sneaking their way up. I was in a dark place very recently. Multiple times, actually, over the last few months, including the 2 weeks following my talk last week. Why? Because I left the stage and immediately the regret kicked in. Immediately the regret kicked in about what was said, about the colorful metaphors, about the length of the talk. We could go on and on and on about everything that this mind up here was concerned about. And for 2 weeks, I was in a hole. I'm never coming up here again. I'm just not doing it. I don't even know if I'm going to go to the community anymore. That kind of hole you get into where you pull back and you hide in the darkness. and you hide in the darkness. The multi-year depression I was in, it wasn't that caliber. That depression is a whole different level. And if there's anybody in the room, I know there's people in the room who are currently suffering from it. I know you. It's one of the beautiful gifts of what I've been through is that I now have X-ray vision when it comes to depression. I can see you now. We're watching a cartoon that my daughter is showing us right now, and she went through some SHIT, and all of a sudden she can see ghosts in this cartoon, right? It changes a person, the darkness. And it doesn't have to be for the worst. I am in a position now to offer hope and just care and compassion, sympathy, empathy, you name it, that I was never in before I went through that. Before I was skating through life, making everything work just right, ignoring the fact that all of life is suffering and pretending that I actually had an ability to not experience it. That if I tried hard enough, if I did everything just right, and if I made the widgets just right, and I pleased everybody just right, that the suffering wouldn't be there. But it turns out life is pain. It turns out life is, in fact, pain. And it also turns out this is not a bad thing. There is many gifts to be had. Trevor Hall, any fans of the musician Trevor Hall out there? That's a great song called You Can't Rush Your Healing. You can't rush your healing. Darkness has its teachings. They're different for everybody, so I'm not going to come up here and tell you what they are. It's something that's for you to do. And you're going to do that inside. And this is an important lesson that Unity teaches us, is that, and you'll find it in this book in the back, it's an inside game. There is no amount of tweaking the outside world that you can do that's going to make you feel better in here. You may think, oh God, if I get that car, oh God, I want that car. I really need it. Or a car, right? I know there's some members in this church who would take anything. A car would do the trick. You get that car and then you want to need another car, right? Oh, I want a nicer one. Okay, same thing with a house, right? You always need to upgrade it. And that's the problem that the ego has, is that you're constantly looking to improve upon what's out there in an effort to stop this pain that's inside of you. Because that pain is there and we're trying to ignore it. Maybe I'll try some booze. Maybe I'll try some drugs. Maybe I'll try some sex. Food? Anybody done it with food? I personally have done it with all of these. Okay? We're constantly trying to turn off that pain, that darkness inside of us. I don't know why it's there. I've come to theorize and believe based on my readings, and I've done a lot of readings. I have listened to countless hours of people like Michael Singer, Eckhart Tolle, Michael Newton, talking about spirituality as I try and stop this pain inside of me and feel better. Books upon books upon books upon books, most of which I've read 3 times. The lesson is always the same. It's hard out there because it's not right in here, because you have lost the connection to the divine. And I think we do this on purpose as souls. We come here, we sever that connection with the divine in order to see what that's like. I get the sense that God is just one giant kid out playing constantly. I heard a quote the other day that nature is God reinventing itself over and over and over again. It's just constantly playing. And one of those ways that we play is to go to the darkness and feel bad and feel crappy, because in heaven, from what I hear, it's always light and full of love. And so what do you do When you're always having, say, eggs, bacon, and toast for breakfast, and you're sick of that, right? Even though eggs, bacon, and toast perhaps is delicious to you. I want to do something different. Can you imagine God said that? This light and love stuff is fantastic, but let's try something different. Let's try darkness. Let's try pain and agony. Let's see what that's like. So we have contrast. And so we come to this plane in this physical body, and we get to experience that, don't we? I think that internal pain is a symptom of that disconnection. I think that persistent dread, that persistent ache, is nothing to do with what's happened out there in your life. Eric and I were talking earlier. One of the occupational hazards of giving these talks and being a spiritual seeker and being on a spiritual journey is that the universe will hand you all sorts of crazy lessons in preparation for this talk. And this past couple weeks have been no different. Knowing that this is coming up, the universe just started handing me challenges. And the last couple weeks have been full of them. I ended up stupidly double booking myself on work. And so working crazy hours. The life's really starting to degrade, skipping the weekends, skipping the recovery time in favor of making other people happy, these sort of things. The universe fed me a quick taste of the darkness over the last couple weeks. It even spilled into our preparation for this, for the songs this week. And Dave and Eric and I have been on a chat thread for the last couple weeks trying to find that perfect second song. And we went through, about a dozen of them, and they just kept not quite fitting right. Not quite fitting right. Always having a little bit of an issue here and there, and something wasn't quite right. It either wasn't quite right for Dave, it wasn't quite right for me, or it wasn't quite right for Eric. And I have learned through the depression, through coming out of it, through learning how to climb out of the valley of the shadow of death, what it feels like when it's right. And so one of the things I was constantly going back to with Dave and Eric was, until everybody is super excited about this, it's not the right song. Because there was at least a dozen I was super big on. Because I have a very broad taste in music, and I love it, and it really speaks to me in crazy ways. But it wasn't speaking to them. And so this is happening. Literally, my toilets are backing up in my house twice. Like, I'm actually swimming in S-bomb in my life. Like, it's like I stepped back and was like laughing at it. Like, this is actual poop, right? In my life. This is what's manifesting here because the talk's got to go right. And the universe is going, here's your darkness to talk about. Here's your darkness. Yeah, here's your life lessons. It's an occupational hazard of this journey. One of the things I want to talk about is how we climb out of that place. How do we get back to this light that's inside of us? There's a variety of things that I've learned, and I probably don't have time to go into all of them, but the basics are diet and exercise. Are you guys sick of hearing that? Diet and exercise? Anybody sick of hearing that yet? Guess what? Those are the freaking basics. You got to eat well. You got to put the right fuel in this body. Imagine going out there and urinating into your gas tank and being surprised that the car doesn't run, right? When you go and eat crappy foods out there, and you know what they are. We don't have to go through this. You know what they are. Your body is not right. Oh, I don't have the energy. Okay, no, it affects everything, including your emotions significantly. What you eat significantly affects how you feel, how you respond to that darkness. Whether you get and roll it and put that thing on like a giant fuzzy blanket and roll in that darkness, or if you see it and stay to the side and say, thank you, but I'm going to focus on the light. Diet has a huge factor in that. Exercise, you have to be active. You absolutely, positively have to be active out there. The other key thing is understanding we need to be connected to our fellow human beings. We are wired for it. For millennia, we have been fully dependent on each other as a species. Only in this day and age do we have this false perception that we could do it alone, that we don't need everybody else, because we've got the phone in our pocket, and we've got McDonald's, and we've got this and that and the other. I don't need someone at home cooking for me. I don't need this and that and the other. I don't need this community. I don't need this connection. But that's flat out wrong. It's really fascinating if you want to know how connected we are as a species. If you think about anything, just somebody name an object out there, anything that's involved that you use in your life on a regular basis.
Bicycle.
Okay, one at a time, please.
Car.
So let's narrow that down to one tire on your car, and let's look how connected we are as a species. You get a flat tire, and you need a new tire. You guys have heard of the 6 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon? Yeah? You just only need to go 6 people back, and you can always connect yourself directly to Kevin Bacon in some capacity. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows Kevin Bacon. It might have been my generation, so some of you are looking at me with blank stares. But anyhow, it's the same thing with humanity. That tire that we need to get on that car, okay, so let's go and get a new tire. We need the guy who actually is going to put it on. We need the person at the counter who's going to sell it to us, okay? There's just 2 right there. Okay, what about the guy who had to drive in to get there? That car that he drove in has a mechanic. It has a tire guy. It has the guy at the gas station who helped him fill it up. It has the guy who owns the gas station. It has the truck driver who drove that gas to the gas station to get it there. You can see where this is going, right? It spills over. The lug nuts on that tire that you got to take off required a tool, and that tool was built by a human, and that tool was shipped in a truck that was driven by a human. Somebody at the store somewhere ordered that tool, another human. It's countless. You're going to immediately you find you're so fully connected to everybody, it's not even funny how important we all are to each other. Connection to our fellow humans is critical when you find yourself in that dark spot. It's critical. We all think that we're out there looking for love. I just want to be loved. Anybody looking for that special relationship? That's sort of what we were talking about a couple months ago in my talk. Still looking for that love? It turns out we're not looking for someone to love us. We're looking for someone to love. We're not in need of love. We're in need of loving, because loving is an action. It's a verb. It's a thing you do. It's not something you get and receive. It's something you do. And when you put it out there, it comes right back. Right? We are wired to connect, and we are wired to love. And when you get in those dark holes, you tend to hide in them and shut out the outside world, right? You got to climb out of that hole and let the others in. The key way to do this is to remember that it's inside of you. That light is inside of you, and it wants to go out there and love. One of the other things that's important to learn how to do when you're in that darkness is cry. Anybody raised in a house where crying was not allowed? I know Jeremy grew up in a world where crying was absolutely, positively not permitted. Right? Anybody have a parent tell them that shut the F-bomb up? Once you stop your crying, I'll give you something to cry about. Any of this sound familiar? Not allowed to cry. I learned through this journey that crying is one of the most cathartic things we can do. And I don't mean, oh, well, that's, one tear that really... No, I mean on your knees, wondering whether or not you can even breathe crying. Over the past, let's say about 2 years, this has happened to me 3 times. Almost always has been induced by music. When the grief comes up so hard that it literally puts me on my knees like this. You just can't stand up and cry because it's that intense. If you have not experienced this, I encourage you to practice letting it out. Because what we do is we go out there and we experience pain. We experience something that's not going right. And what do? Shove that down, right? No, I'm not going to have a problem with this today. And we shove that down. I got to do X, Y, or Z right now. I don't have time for this pain. And we shove it down. It goes in with pain. It comes out with pain. That pain that's in there that we keep shoving down and hiding from, and again, we talked about what we use. We use food, we use booze, we use drugs, we use TV, we use sex. We use a bunch of things to shove it down and keep it at bay. It doesn't do well down there. One of the key features is letting that out. One of the things I've learned in my journey from a very great teacher, Michael Singer, I encourage you to jump into him if you haven't heard of him. He wrote the amazing book, The Untethered Soul. And even better than that, and I'm blanking on the name, The Surrender Experiment. This guy went through life saying yes to everything. He just one day heard the voice in his head and said, what is this maniac's problem? He's opposed to everything. Everything is pissing him off and everything he's trying to get away from. He's like, you know what, I'm going to roll with life. When I hear that voice come up, I'm going to say thank you, and I'm just going to see where this universe is trying to take me. If you're a stick on a river, and Eric and I were talking about this last night as we were wrestling right to the last second on the song. If you're a stick on a river, just imagine a stick rolling down a river stream, and it hits a rock, and it's stuck there, and it can't go on its journey. Can you imagine how silly it would be for that stick to go, oh my God, I'm stuck on this rock right now. I want to be down there, but I'm here. This is terrible. This is the worst thing ever. A stick's not going to do that, right? It's just a stick on a river. And eventually the waters will ebb and flow, and that stick will break loose, and it'll go on its way. Don't shove that pain down. Stop, take a deep breath, and understand that we're not in control, that life is living itself. Listening to a Michael Singer podcast, ironically, the day before yesterday, he talks about the quantum field and that we didn't invent the quantum field. This is telling us amazing things about how this universe works and how we work. We didn't invent the quantum field, we discovered it. And it's the same thing with your life. You don't get to invent your life the way you think you get to invent it. You get to discover your life. You get to watch it unfold. And it is so much more fun when you let it unfold. Back to the story that Dave and Eric and I were going through these past couple weeks, wrestling with this song. Right? Wrestling with this song choice. I kept coming back to letting go. Because we'd come on a song, it started out at Fix You by Coldplay. Any fans of that song in here? It's an amazing song. It's pure poetry, except for one problem. The last line. And I will try to fix you. This is what the planet does. This is what society does. When you're in a deep, nasty place, the song entirely continues to talk about light will guide you home. The light will guide you home. And then he goes, and I will try to fix you. Hang on a second, what? What is this light guiding? Yes, the light is constantly trying to guide you home. But the world's also constantly trying to fix you. And you don't need to be fixed. You are perfect exactly the way you are. If you're in a deep, dark hole and you feel like S-bomb, you are perfect. You are exactly where you need to be. You cannot rush your healing. You are on time. You're doing everything you need to be doing right now. How do we know this? Because we're here right now. We're alive. We got up this morning, sat up in bed, put 2 feet on the ground, and they went there, and we stood up and took a deep breath. We are alive. We are exactly on time. Imagine if things were a mess, and you went to put your feet on the ground, and they flew up onto the ceiling. That's a problem. But that didn't happen. It's never going to happen. We have this beautiful thing called gravity, keeping us anchored. You are exactly on time. You're exactly where you need to be. And I kept reminding myself, this song is exactly where it needs to be. It's there. It's ready. It will come when the time is right. One of the practices that's been extremely helpful for me has been the I love myself practice. One of the things you'll read in this book, Eric Butterworth talks about it over and over and over again. It's an inside game. Well, okay, how do we get that inside right? It's really simple. Meditation, prayer, affirmations. That's all you need. Kamal Ravikant wrote a book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends Upon It. It takes about maybe tops an hour to read, and that's if you're a slow reader. It's a really short book because it doesn't have to say much. It's really simple. Love yourself like your life depends upon it. The practice is super easy. When you feel that angst and that pain and that agony show up, if you're Dave, Eric, and I, and we're wrestling going, this damn song's not coming forth, what are we going to do? It's coming up and all that other jazz and all the other stresses of life, the toilet's overflowing, double booked and the clients aren't happy, the dogs haven't been walked in 2 weeks and they're looking at me, right? The house is a mess because we haven't had time to clean it, all that pain and angst and this isn't right, this is not right, this is not right. That happens constantly. Anybody can relate to that feeling? I think you were talking about that last week, right? That little dark place? Like just nothing was going right and you just want to wring its neck? Strangle it into submission? Or strangle yourself into unconsciousness? Maybe some food and some booze and some drugs? Too much TV? You feel that, you see it, you recognize it. You stop, you close your eyes, you take a deep breath. Hopefully you're not driving a car at the time. Although oftentimes I am, because that is no better place for me to get worked up than behind the wheel of a vehicle. Especially if you're on a roundabout. Yeah. You stop, you close your eyes, you take a deep breath, you feel that breath go in your nose, and you get back into your body. And you say, I love myself. Can we all say that together right now? I love myself. One more time.
I love myself.
One more time.
I love myself.
Breathe out. Anybody hear the voice in your head call bullshit on that? Just now? Seriously. Did anybody in the room feel that didn't quite resonate? You don't have to shake your head. I know you know. I know at some level, part of you is going, do I? I don't know. I haven't done this right, and I didn't do that right. Oh, God. And the last time I was on stage, I dropped way too many F-bombs, right? You can go to the ends of the earth and back, figuring all the ways that you haven't done it right. And that is what this practice is about, is seeing that when those crop up, saying, I love myself. It's a super simple practice, but it has to be engaged. The beauty of this simple practice is you can do it anywhere. Anybody have the courage to admit they got pissed off at another driver on the way here today? Yes, there's a brave one. What'd they do? Too slow. Were you late? Yeah, too slow. How do you feel about the rings of Saturn? Seriously. Do you care that Saturn has rings? Yeah. But you don't have preference one way or the other, right? If you dropped into this world and Saturn didn't have rings, would it wreck your day? Would you be yelling at it? Saturn having rings is no different than the person driving too slow in front of her. This universe has been around for 13.8 billion years. Can we stop and try and fathom what 13.8 billion years is? This moment right here has been in development for 13.8 billion years. I love getting philosophical. If you start to think back that 13.8 years ago, God exploded itself all over the place into this dust cloud of everything that we know today. And over 13.8 billion years, stars and solar systems came and went, including the one we're in right now. This is not the first time there's been a solar system right here. And planets came into form, and then the suns next to them exploded and swallowed those planets back up, and then they did it again. Boom. We are here right now because that happened over the course of 13.8 billion years. This moment has led up. And yet, we have the audacity to be upset that the person in front of us is driving too slow. 13.8 billion years of evolution, of development, of planets coming and going have led to this moment of this driver right there, and we're right behind him, and it's not going the way we want it to. And so we get upset. Why are you driving so slow? I got to get to Unity right now. Oh, God, I don't have time for this. That's darkness too, by the way. Darkness comes in a whole ton of different flavors. Now your practice is, oh, look at that. That's not where I want to be. That's not the warm, loving light that I want to feel all day long. Do we all want to feel warm, loving light all day long, every day? Yeah, it's possible. I haven't personally found it yet. I haven't gotten there yet, but I can tell you what, I feel a whole lot more than I used to, because when that happens, and it happens all the time, and miraculously it didn't happen to me today on the way to Unity, the universe was kind. I stop, I take a deep breath, and I love myself. And this is where it gets really groovy. It's because it's way more than loving myself, right? Myself. Split that myself, which is one word, into two words. Myself. What is this self that we love so much? Self is the combined experience you've had to this date since birth, right? Everything that's occurred, good, bad, ugly, and otherwise, has created this self. It could be the same thing as saying, I love my life, or I love my life situation. I love everything that's going on right now. I love this moment in time. Even if the person in front of you is driving at a pace that prevents me from getting to Unity when I wanted to get there, when this little brain said I needed to get there. I love myself. I love this moment. What we're doing is we're orienting back to love, constantly orienting back to love, because none of that stuff's out there. That stuff out there matters. You're not going to fix it. She has no chance of getting that person in front of her to drive faster. None. Zero. You might as well try and change the weather, which, strangely enough, as a society, we're trying to do. Right, Elian? Yeah, spraying crap in the sky, trying to change the weather. This is the insanity of humanity, okay? But we got to get back to love. I love myself. So we're cruising along. We've gone through 12 songs or so at this point. We haven't quite aligned it, and Eric throws one out called You Got It In You. And Dave fires off a few seconds later, ooh, I'm all in on that one. And I'm like, I don't know this song. I'm driving home from a really hard day. 2 weeks straight work, 1 day off, most of which was spent here volunteering. And the floodgates open. I'm listening to this song on the way home, and the floodgates open. I'm barely able to drive. I'm weeping so hard because it's that beautiful. And I can hear Eric singing it. And the moment coalesces into this beauty, and all that SHIT that we've been going through, and this is just one little microcosm, right? We can take that out to your entire life. The moment is beautiful. And the emotions come forth that have been bottled up, whatever it was that was in there. It doesn't matter, actually. You don't have to think about, why am I sad? It doesn't matter. Just let it out. You don't have to deal with it. It doesn't need to be dealt with. Just let it go. Crying's a fantastic way to do that. And I knew it was the right song. The second I heard it, the second the tears came forth, I'm like, this is it. And interestingly enough, last night, Eric's like, maybe we should do a different one, just to really keep us on our toes. The universe will do this to us. Oh, so you're feeling pretty good about this, huh? Like, this is what happens in life. You get smooth going, all right, I figured it all out. I got to I'm buying a house right now. Everything's going to be great, right? Yeah, everything's going to be great from here on out because I'm buying a house and everything's perfect. No, sorry. It's going to come back around. None of us are getting out of here alive. Everyone we know and love will die. This is the reminder that you have to sit with. Life is pain, but it's also the most amazing thing you could ever dream of. And we're going to hear this beautiful song from this beautiful man who has not lamented his condition in the slightest. He comes up here and sings the light every time. His voice has been kissed by an angel, and he shares it with us. Now we're about right. I want to show you one picture. Nico, can I have that slide up? So the depression I found myself in took me to a super dark place that lasted quite a while, and it really threw a bomb into my life, and financially, and all sorts of other ways. It just wrecked it. No, Dave, keep playing. It's beautiful. I love it. And I spent a lot of time wishing I had done things differently. Like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? If only I kept the career, if I only kept that, and everything would be fine. One of the places this dark journey led us to was 8 months on the coast, helping a friend and an acquaintance finish off a housing project down there. Hard labor, basically. And on this journey, this beautiful creature came into our lives. This cat up there, her name is Peridot. And I don't have time to go into it, obviously, but the sequence of events that led to her coming into our lives were nothing short of a miracle. You can't script it out. There's no way I could have planned it, and there's no way I could have created a book and said, here's my 5-year plan on how to find this beautiful creature. If there's a fire in our house, and Aaron and I know we feel the same on this, if we have to choose the cat or we have to choose our significant other, we're grabbing this cat, right? If there's time, I'll come back for her. And I know she feels the same way, which is why I can joke about it. This cat has so much love and is so special to us. And I can go back and go, oh, why did I do that? Oh, you know why I did that? That right there. That right there. Sorry, I'm looking at this screen. You're looking at this screen. If I don't go into those dark holes, if we don't get stuck having to go work on the coast for 8 months, this beautiful creature is not in our lives. You cannot go back and lament the past and try and undo it, because the beautiful creatures that are in your life now aren't there. You can't undo it. The moment is perfect exactly the way it is. 13.8 billion years it took to get here. Let's relish that beauty. And let's hear this amazing man whose voice has been kissed by an angel sing this beautiful song about how it is here. Everything you're looking for is right here. Thank you.